that said, well, yeah, places like Walmart, they can afford a $15 an hour minimum wage. Some of these small business, fast food restaurants, your burger isn't going to go up by dollars and dollars. It's going to go up by 10 cents. You can afford 10 cents more on your burger. Your burger from McDonald's or Wendy's or something like that, it's only going to go up about a dime. You can afford that if these people get, $15 an hour, a living wage. Come to find out that no, all their surveys and all their studies, like most liberal surveys and studies, were totally wrong. And that people were losing their jobs. And food costs at these, small business restaurants and fast food chains were going up a lot. Chipotle, anyone? Because that $15 an hour, see, what they don't realize is that $15 an hour is not just $15 an hour. And when you got a minimum wage that is at $15, trust me, all of the unions within the city that operate within the city, that have employees within the city, are now going to their bosses when it's time to renegotiate their contracts and say, hey, we're supposed to make a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount above minimum wage. Yeah. Minimum wage is now $15. Yeah. All of our members now get a raise because that's in the contract. And, a lot that's, if you think that that's not going to affect the cost of goods and services across the board, you've got another thing coming. Because as we have said here on the right all along, this whole notion that this is a vacuum type of system, it isn't going to fly and it isn't going to work, and that there are going to be some very disappointed people, and a lot of businesses that you would not think that would be affected by this are going to be directly and indirectly affected by this $15 an hour minimum wage stupidity. And lo and behold, places like Seattle, Washington, and San Francisco, California implement this stuff. And bazamo, they have all kinds of problems, just like we on the right said that they would. But, nobody ever, hey, we on the right, we're just mean, mean people and mean curmudgeons. Speaking of curmudgeons, Bernie Sanders is still running amok out there. I know some people are thinking, running amok, that's kind of harsh, Rod. He's kind of running roughshod over Hillary. But that's not the problem. There's this whole thing about Donald Trump. Everybody's worried, well, if the Republican establishment doesn't take the Donalds seriously and they railroad somebody else in for the nomination, and Donald feels like that he was had or he was taken or he was robbed, then the Donald might go third party. Well, the question is, with all of the support that Bernie Sanders is garnering and currently has, and the new support that he's likely to amass as the campaign for the Democratic nomination continues, what is going to keep Bernie Sanders from running as a third-party candidate? Now, understand, there are some polls that have Sanders leading Hillary. There are some polls that say that the old curmudgeon is much more likable and trustworthy than Hillary. You've got the Democratic Party who is looking at Joe Biden and even thought briefly about Al Gore to replace Hillary, because they don't think that she can win. So, and you had this whole notion about a month ago. Well, wait a minute. Some Democrats are saying, well, Bernie's an independent, not a Democrat, so he can't even be the nominee of the Democratic Party anyway. He's not on our ticket. So what happens if the Democratic Party ticks off Bernie Sanders enough where he decides he's going to run third party? Now, I know that there are those out there who do this sort of predicting for a living. Yes, I said predicting for a living. At least they try to do it for a living. And most of them are saying, well, Bernie would never, ever run third party. And, look, I just say, people thought that Ross Perot probably wouldn't run third party. In fact, they, after he got out of the race, before he got back in, they said, well, he's done. He's done. And then he gets back in the race and he goes third party and he garners about 20% of the total vote. So I wouldn't put Sanders, if you piss him off enough, because this guy, he's look, you've got all these, he's got all of these supporters, and a lot of these supporters are not automatically going to go run over to Hillary if Bernie were to drop out. And that's another thing the Democratic Party fully realizes and understands. The Democratic establishment, they found themselves in a predicament that they have not had to deal with in a very, very long time. Now, I know in 2008 when Barack Obama was breaking out of his shell and breaking through the noise and taking over the lead that Hillary had and starting to pull ahead, there was not a problem within the Democratic Party to support Barack Obama over Hillary. Not at all, because that's what the people in their party, that's what they said the people wanted Barack. And this was historical. No matter which way you went, first woman or first African American, we're making history here. But now it's a little bit different. Well, actually, it's a lot different. Now you've got history-making first woman, potentially Hillary, versus typical old white dude. Think about it. And the typical old white dude is gaining support. I mean, and he is garnering much larger crowds than Hillary is able to garner. So do you think that the Democratic establishment is just going to sweep away Bernie Sanders and hope that he puts his support behind Hillary? Well, I don't think he's going to do that. And so the Democratic the leadership, they need to really think about not pissing off Sanders, because if they keep him happy, look, they don't want Sanders to be the nominee. Trust me, the Democratic leadership does not want Bernie Sanders as the nominee. But they're in a tight spot, because if they burn Sanders in any way, and Sanders thinks that they have burned him in order to prop up Hillary, he is going to blow them out of the water with a third party. And let me tell you something, this might be the first time, if the way things are going right now with Hillary and Bernie, if Bernie Sanders were to run as a third party candidate, this still might be a history-making election, by the independent getting more votes than one of the major parties. I don't think that's really ever happened before. Not in our politics, national politics. We're an independent. Now, granted, Bernie ran as an independent in Vermont, and we've had other senators and governors run as independents and win, but never have we had the president, an independent, come close to winning the White House, the Oval Office. Yeah, not that I can't remember any history that proves me wrong at the moment. Maybe somebody out there will tell me, well, yeah, James Van Buren was an independent or something like that. But he wasn't. But I'm not saying that Bernie Sanders would win. He wouldn't win. Whoever the Republican nominee would most likely win. But he would, if he was third party, I believe that he would garner more votes and more of the electoral delegates than Hillary Clinton. And I think that would be an historical first. I can't remember a time when that, in our country's history, where that scenario played out. And this is real, folks. This is not something that I'm dreaming up. This is something that Democratic leadership and others on the left are seriously considering and thinking about, because they have to now. because you're looking at Sanders gathering 20, 25, nearly 30,000 people at events, no matter where he goes, whether, he goes to Oregon, 28,000 people. He goes to Iowa, 25,000 people. He goes to California, 20,000 people. He goes, it doesn't matter where he's going. He's garnering all these numbers at these events, and Hillary has a hard time cracking 1,000. And let's be frank and honest. Bernie Sanders is pulling more people at his events than any Republican contender right now. And in some polls on a state-by-state basis, in some places, Bernie's ahead of Hillary. So this whole notion that if the Democrat Party does not want Bernie to be the party's nominee and that they're going to do something about it, and Bernie finds out, he's going to be mad and he's going to go third party, and he's going to garner more support, more votes in the end than Hillary Clinton. Which is fine by us, because that just means that, conservatives, meaning us, because that just means that the conservative, for once, will get to win over a split Democratic House. I don't mean the House of, Representatives, but a Democratic, party house. Their house. Like a frat house type of thing. I got to be clear about that, because some people will say, well, it's not the Democrats don't run the House, right? It's the Republicans. No, not that House. It's like the Democratic frat house. That's the house I'm talking about. But Bernie is, look, even the Washington Post says that maybe Hillary Clinton just isn't a very good candidate. I wish I was making that up. Well, no, I don't. I can't wish that. Clinton, the WashingtonPost.com, their headline says, well, maybe, just maybe Hillary Clinton isn't such a good candidate after all. I mean, wow, this is the Washington Post saying this. The Washington Post is not a conservative ragmag. It's a liberal ragmag. And look, you got liberal supporters all over the place who are not so thrilled with Hillary for good reason, because it's very difficult for her to be elected. I don't even know why she's still in the race. Maybe she's just hedging her bets. And she's trying to look. This could be, Hillary's ticket to staying out of jail, possibly. Maybe Hillary really knows that this whole email thing is really, really going to get really bad, really fast. And so she's trying to hedge her bets in order to keep her little 68-year-old or 7-year-old butt out of jail. But the Washington Post says Hillary Clinton pledged that her 2016 campaign would be better than her 2008 campaign. And to a certain extent, so says the Washington Post. It has been. Really? It's been better? She's hired the best and the brightest of Democratic staffers. She has purposely downplayed her celebrity. And downplayed her celebrity? She ran around the country in an SUV, wearing nothing but sunglasses, going into a Chipotle, and not even leaving a tip. So you're saying that's downplaying your celebrity? Yeah, I don't think so. And she purposely downplayed her celebrity and has tried to personally connect with voters in Iowa and New Hampshire. She is focused on telling her personal story rather than trying to constantly answer the is she tough enough to be commander-in-chief question. Well, that's the only question. Her personal story? What personal story? Her personal story is not a good personal story. I mean, it's a personal story of deceit and death and negativism and bad economies and all kinds of stuff, and tabloid fodder galore. Her personal story is not something that Hillary Clinton wants to put out there on the front pages. I mean, she wants the email stuff. Oh no, she wants to hide all that kind of stuff. Trust me, she does. We'll be right back.